my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Desiree and I'm a mom of 3 and the owner and maker behind The Handmade Mom, where I create mom and positivity focused items. So in this week's video, we're going to be doing another Momprenuer Diaries. I know that we just did one not that long ago, but I really wanted to do this one specifically because my twins just turned 1. And I feel like I just want to sit down and chat with you guys about just everything that has happened within this last year and like how things have been going. I also want to kind of talk to you guys about like what my experience has been like since finding out that I was having twins, like from even like throughout my pregnancy, the birth, and then this last year, where it's probably going to be all over the place because that's just kind of how these videos go, but that's okay. So yeah, I just wanted to chat with you guys about that because it's a really big thing for me that like we have 1-year-old twins. Like, what? I literally feel like we just came home from the hospital like yesterday. So yeah, I wanted to talk with you guys about that. While we are doing that, I am working on a big order. I showed you guys the decals that I got for this order, but now I'm working on blinging them. So these are the cups. This is a parent from the gym, and I am blinging out the team name and the kiddos' names. So that's what we're working on. We've got tons and tons of jewels here in front of me. So let's get started. Let's do some blinging for a little bit and then we will get chatting. So we are going to start chatting. I'm going to try to keep working on these. I have 12 total to do, and like I said, I'm blinging out the team name and the athletes' names, and I've got five done with the team name. I haven't touched the athlete's name, so we've got a little ways to go. But anyways, so yeah, we're going to just start chatting from, I guess, the beginning of literally me finding out that they were twins. So I've had some people ask about like if I knew that I was going to have twins, if it runs in my family, if I was doing fertility treatments or anything like that. So yes, I did know that I was having twins. Not immediately, but like before I got to my first appointment, I knew that there was something going on, and I was pretty confident that there was twins. So there was more than one in there. No, they do not run in my family. I do not have any twins on either side of my family. No, I was not doing fertility treatments as well. So completely spontaneous set of twins. Definitely not expecting them at all. But yeah, so the way that I knew that I was going to be having twins was really interesting because Like when people ask me like if I knew, and I tell them, yeah, I knew that I was gonna have more than one before I went to my first appointment. They're like super shocked because it's, I don't know, it's like this weird feeling that I had. It was just this like gut feeling, and not right away. There was like things that led up to me feeling that way, and then it just became super strong, super evident to me. First thing was my pregnancy test. When I took the test, I hadn't missed my period yet, so the line should have been very, very faint if it was going to be there. It should have been very, very faint from my understanding on how it all works, right? I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me on it, but it should have been a very, very faint line for being pre-missed period. However, the line was like very dark and very clearly there. So that was definitely an indicator that, like, looking back in the moment, I was just like, there was 2 lines, like that's all that ran through my mind was like, oh no. Was not expecting that. So yeah, but looking back, I was like, oh yeah, I realized. And then after learning about twins and all of that stuff, and like kind of how your body functions and all of the things, right? I learned that your pregnancy test lines can be darker because there's more hormones going through your system, which makes sense now. In the time I didn't realize. Anyway, so that was the first thing. And then I was so exhausted. I was so tired all the time. With Lala, I was tired, but I was still very functional and very active. But this time around with the twins, I was exhausted. Like, it would literally knock me out for the entire day. And I was just unproductive. Like, it was not easy in that first trimester. So then there was that. And then I had really, really strong nausea. Really, really strong nausea. Which I had some when I was pregnant with Lala. I had some aversions, and I remember one of the big things was like, if I was hungry, the thought of food, or like people telling me different things like, oh, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? Just everything was disgusting. Like, you literally just had to give me something. And that feeling was like 10 times when I was pregnant with the twins. And this was all before I went to my first doctor's appointment. It had not been officially like diagnosed. I feel like that's not the right word. But we had not officially found out that there was twins. So this is all pre my first appointment. So then there was that, like, the really, really strong nausea, really, really strong aversions for just food in general. And then the last thing that really like solidified it for me was I did have a dream. I had a dream that I was holding 2 babies. Had no idea the gender of these babies. I just knew that there was 2 of them, and that I was holding them. And so that dream, I was like, okay, there's something going on, and I'm pretty sure that there's more than one in there. And it's funny because my husband and I used to joke about it when we were pregnant with Lala. We used to joke like, oh, wouldn't it be, you know, super cool if we went, there was 2 and we had twins, blah, blah, blah. We always just joked about it. Like, it was never really anything that we ever thought would actually happen, because again, it doesn't run in our family or anything like that. So this time around, like, I'm telling him, I'm like, I think that there might be 2 in there. Like, wouldn't that be kind of cool if there was, and all that stuff. And he got to a point where he was like, why do you keep talking about this? Like, why do you keep bringing this up? And I'm like, because I'm like, for real. I'm for real. I feel like there's 2 in there. So he didn't believe me all the way up until we went to the doctor's appointment and they confirmed it there. I had been telling him, and then we get to the doctor's appointment, and finally he gets to be there in the room with me. So with Lala, we were pregnant with her in like the big height of COVID. So that's when like doctor's offices were very, very limited on like who could go to these appointments and things like that. I had to do most of that pregnancy journey solo, where he couldn't go with me. So this was the first time that he was going. He didn't know what to expect. He had never seen it before. And so I tried to like tell him and explain it, but anyways, so we get in there, and you know, I'm waiting, and then we have Lala with us, and I lay back. They go and they do their check, and I'm literally sitting there looking at this nurse and being like, in my head, come on, like, just tell me. I already know that there's 2 in there. Like, just tell me that that's what you see. And my husband's not paying attention. He's just kind of not really sure what's going on. When I asked him about it, he's like, I didn't even know that they had started anything. I didn't know what was going on. And then all of a sudden, like, she just goes, well, there's 2 in there. And my reaction was, I knew it, I knew it. And literally, so we still were wearing masks at the time. And so he had his mask on, and so you could only see here, and like his eyes were just so wide. And it was hilarious. It was hilarious. But because like all of a sudden, I guess this like energy shift in the room or what, but my daughter just started freaking out and started crying because I was shouting. I was like, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it. And I was really excited and all of the things. And so then she starts crying. My husband's in shock, and I'm trying to comfort her. And it just was a little chaotic. But yeah, so that's how we found out that I was having twins. As for the pregnancy part, the first trimester was rough. The first trimester was very rough because I was so exhausted very frequently, and I was very nauseous for a long time. And honestly, my doctor and I both thought that I might be nauseous throughout the entire pregnancy. Luckily, that was not the case, but it looked like it was going to be the case for a little bit there. So yeah, the first trimester was rough. The second one was much better. And then the third one was still really good. It just got a little bit harder to do things. Like, I got to a point where I pretty much couldn't drive myself anymore because it wasn't really safe for me to drive. Like, I would have, I think, like this much space between my belly and the steering wheel, and it just wasn't safe for me to drive. Plus two, I had such a big belly that sometimes if I would park somewhere and I'd come back to my car, somebody would be parked next to me and I almost could not get into my vehicle because I was so big and I couldn't open the door wide enough. So that was fun. And I just remember, like, it was still functional. Like, I was still able to do things. However, it was just getting a lot harder. Surprisingly though, like, I was still all the way up until like literally giving birth. I was still able to get down on the ground with Lala and like play with her and do the things and get back up. How? Have no idea. But I still was able to do that. I look back and I think it was maybe because I didn't realize how big I actually was. Okay, let me put some glue on really quickly, and so that way it'll make me put some rhinestones, because I do have a lot of these to do and I'm supposed to be crafting and chatting, and I'm not very good at that, as I'm sure you have already seen in my other ones. But yeah, I genuinely did not realize how big I was, like, towards the end. It just, I guess maybe because I saw myself every day, or because I just kind of like did things in a way that just kind of like adjusted for my big belly. I don't know, but I genuinely did not realize how big I was. And so being able to do the things that I was able to do, looking back, I'm like, wow, that's impressive. I am impressed with myself, because I look back on the photos and I'm like, geez, I was big belly, very big belly. People used to tell me, you know, early on, like kind of early on in my pregnancy, maybe about a little more than halfway, be like, oh, you're about to pop, blah blah. Nope, still got a ways to go. And it just never really dawned on me that, like, I looked like I was about to pop, you know, that early on. And so by the end, I was just huge and didn't realize it. So yeah, that was, looking back on that, that was interesting because like I said, I genuinely did not realize how large I was. And so maybe that contributed to why I was able to still do the things that I did, because I didn't really register like my size with my ability to be able to get up off of the ground or get down to the ground. I just knew that it was getting harder. I knew that. I could definitely tell that. And I was more winded. I was more out of breath, of course, but yeah, I don't know. It's wild to me. It's mind-blowing to me when I look back at those photos and see how big I actually was. So the pregnancy itself otherwise was pretty good. I didn't have any like real health complications for myself. The babies were all good. Kieran did have a thing that we were monitoring, but it never affected anything. Like, he was always looking really good, where he had in his umbilical cord, I think it's supposed to be 3 blood vessels that run through, and he only had 2, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but basically he was short a blood vessel that was running through his umbilical cord, so they were just concerned that it may restrict growth for him, but it never did. We watched it and monitored it the whole pregnancy, and it never did. So that was great. They looked great the whole time. I did have one scare where I did have to go into my doctor, and then they ended up sending me to labor and delivery for monitoring because Cece was just chilling in there, and there was a good period of time that I didn't really like feel her moving too much. And so we did go in, and everything ended up being fine, and what happened was she just ended up shifting positions. And so she was just in a different position, and so she was kicking kind of backwards in a spot that I couldn't really feel. It just felt a lot lighter than what I was used to feeling from her. So, and then on top of that, Kieran was always very active. He was always the one that I would see moving, and he would kick me all the time and things like that. So his movements definitely overshadowed when she shifted. So there was that, but otherwise, like, everything turned out good. They were fine. They were healthy. I was fine. I was healthy. I didn't have any issues with high blood pressure, which we were concerned on. Oh, I did get really swollen ankles and feet towards the end. I kind of had it throughout the pregnancy, but it would be like on and off. But otherwise it wasn't that bad until the end. The end, I had some chunky feet at the end. So yeah, that was pretty much the pregnancy. If you're curious on like a little bit more in depth on the pregnancy, I do have in my stories highlights on my Instagram page. If you're interested in kind of watching those back and going through that, then that'll be there on my Instagram for you guys. But otherwise, the pregnancy overall was pretty good. It was pretty good. I was super worried for most of the pregnancy that I would go into. I guess I had convinced myself. I was pretty confident that I was going to go into preterm labor because that's just what I had heard that tends to happen with twins, is that you go into preterm labor, and that's just kind of part of most of twin parents' life. And so I was like convinced, I guess, that that was going to happen to me. It did not. It did not happen. We went in for a scheduled C-section. It was a scheduled C-section. However, we were going to potentially induce, depending on what my body was looking like, if it was looking ready to have them or not. Really quickly, we're going to back up. Leading up to birth, I knew that there was a good possibility. Okay, so I had a goal. Let's back up again. I had a goal of trying to have a VBAC, which, if you don't know what a VBAC is, it's a vaginal birth after cesarean. I did have Lala via cesarean, and so this was going to be a vaginal birth that was attempted. And I had the clear from my doctor. Everything looked great as far as like both babies' health, my health, all of that stuff. And I was still a good candidate for a VBAC. So that was the plan. That was the goal, was to have a VBAC. And as we got closer, we kept checking to see if I was starting to dilate, if I was starting to thin out or anything like that. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. My body was not doing anything. At the time that we started checking, like my babies were measuring, you know, like regular singleton baby size. And so I was fully prepared for that. And then as we got closer to the end, it started to be more apparent that that wasn't going to be the case, because again, we were checking and my body just wasn't doing anything. It just was like, nope, we're good, we're chilling, we're holding this baby in. We ended up scheduling a C-section again for potential of induction, because with twins, the placenta does, I guess, expire. Is that the right word? Yeah, that's the word my doctor used. Expires sooner than it does with a singleton. So because of that, we didn't want to risk any potential like issues that could cause with either of the babies. So we just went ahead and scheduled the C-section. And so we went in, and the day of, you know, I asked my doctor like if she could check one more time just to see if, and we had already agreed on this. She was gonna check me, you know, again before we actually went forward with the C-section, and if I was dilated or there was any kind of sign that my body was ready, then we would move forward with the induction instead. So, what was I saying? I think it was saying how we went in and she checked me, still nothing. I was maybe half a centimeter starting to dilate. That was it. And that wasn't enough to make my doctor feel comfortable to say, let's go forward with an induction. So that was really, really rough. That was really, really rough, because I had always like wanted to have a vaginal birth, and because I didn't get to have it with my daughter, with Lala, I was really, really hoping that I was gonna be able to have it with the twins. Now, I did go into this experience knowing that there was a bigger chance that it wouldn't happen, simply because there's two. And so I think I kind of better prepared myself mentally for that to be the case. So I think that did help out, because it didn't hit me as hard. It still hit me pretty hard, but it wasn't as bad as it was with Lala. So we ended up getting completely prepped, ready to go for C-section and all of that. Everything looked great with the babies. They weren't engaged in my pelvis, so like they were still chilling, and doctor's like, cool, that looks great, like everything looked good. So we go in for the C-section, and I think I was anticipating like chaos in the room, because I knew there was going to be more people in there because there was two and all of that. But honestly, it really wasn't that bad. Like, I was expecting just people running around everywhere and like just super crowded in there, but honestly it was very chill. Like, there was more people in there, but it didn't feel crazy, it didn't feel chaotic or anything like that. So they do the C-section, and this time around I had asked my doctor to give me a full play-by-play as she was doing things, because with Aubriella, one of the big things that I think really hit me was I didn't know that they had started, because I couldn't feel anything, which obviously that's what we want, but because I couldn't feel anything, I didn't know that they had started the C-section. And by the time I realized it, she could already see a limb. And I was like, wait, what? What do you mean you can see a limb? I didn't know that we started. And So that really, really like affected me. And so this time around, I asked my doctor to give me a full play-by-play. And my doctor is so amazing. I felt very comfortable asking her to give me the play-by-play as we were going, so that way I knew what was happening even before we actually went into the C-section. When we made the final decision that we were going to go ahead with the C-section and we weren't going to be able to have a vaginal birth, I bust into tears. I did bust into tears. And she literally pulled up a seat next to me and just held my hand and was like, we'll talk through this. And we just sat there and talked. I know she's very busy. I know she's got other patients. I know she's got other babies to deliver. But just having her sit there and talk to me and talk me through those feelings and emotions and making me feel like she understood was just so great. So I felt very, very comfortable with her. I trust her. I trusted her through that whole process. And so we get to the end of the C-section, babies are out, and it's amazing because now I've had the whole play-by-play. I like knew what was happening as we were going, and we did get to do, this time around, we did get to do like pushing, faux pushing, not really faux pushing because I still was pushing, I guess. I forgot what it's called. I think it's a gentle C-section. I don't remember, but anyways, so basically it's a way to still have mom kind of involved in the birth of the baby. So I still got to push and I still got to do all those things. Did I do them correctly? I have no idea. I couldn't feel a thing. But I did get to do that, and so that was really, really special. And okay, yeah, that was really, really special. Clearly it still has an effect on me. But anyways, I think that that really was special because with Lala, I had a really hard time. Now, I know I still gave birth to her. I know I still, did the thing, right? Like, going through a C-section is not easy. And it's still giving birth. And it's still amazing and beautiful and all the things. I know that. But with Lala, I was a first-time mom. I had all these hopes and dreams and wishes for what my birth would look like, my birth experience. And when it didn't go that way, it was completely opposite of what I wanted. I was devastated, and it was really hard for me to accept that me giving birth via C-section was still me giving birth. I didn't feel like I had truly given birth to her. And it took a really long time for me to get past that and to accept and understand that having a baby via C-section is still having a baby and is still giving birth to her and all of those wonderful things. So I think being able to do that pushing through the C-section with the twins, it's so special because it kind of made me feel like I did do it. Like, it made me feel like I did get to push and I did get to experience that. And then on top of that, my anesthesiologist was so sweet. So my husband was like, I love you and I'm going to take the pictures that I can for you, but I'm not looking over the sheet. So totally understandable. I wasn't going to make him do it, and I wasn't asking him to do that. But my anesthesiologist did take my phone and was taking pictures for us. And I am so grateful that I had my live photos turned on. If you have iPhone, I don't know if Android has this, but if you have iPhone, turn on your live photos because it will make such a huge difference. I remember looking back, and because I had my live photos on, the anesthesiologist went and was taking pictures over the sheet so I could see all of those things. And I greatly appreciate those photos so much. Like, we didn't ask him to do that. He didn't have to do that. He just did it for us. And because the live was turned on, I got to see me actually pushing what I think it was, who was it? It was Cece. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Cece that I was actually pushing out, And in the live video, I mean, if you press and hold it, you can see kind of like a little clip almost of what was going on when that picture was captured. And you could see so there's my doctor, right? And then there's another doctor that's assisting her. Their hands are up and literally Cece is coming out on her own. And it was so amazing to see that. Like I remember I saw that live video, I mean that live photo, and I immediately cried, and I turned to my husband and I was just like, I did it. I did it. So yeah, that was really special and really important for me. And I'm so glad that I got to see that. I'm so glad that my anesthesiologist did take those photos for me, because I wouldn't have seen that. I wouldn't have known that otherwise. So yeah. But anyways, so we get through all of that. Both babies are out and they're doing great. We can hear them crying, and it's such a surreal feeling to hear two babies crying at one time. Like, I mean, you hear one and it's amazing, but then like to hear both of them, it just really made it like super real that there was two of them that were here now. So anyways, they get cleaned up, they do all their measurements and things, and they get brought over to me, and it was crazy to see two babies. Like I had two baby little heads right here. I'm still laying on the table, and you know, there's two little baby heads right here still, and it's just so crazy. So anyways, we do all that. They get put onto me, and then we get wheeled off to recovery. And while we were in recovery, Kieran actually was having some issues with maintaining, I think there's a couple things that it kind of trickled into, but I think it started off with maintaining his body heat. Pretty sure that's what it was, because then they ended up putting him, it was either that or his breathing. I couldn't remember which one, but they put him on me and tried to do skin to skin to see if that would help. And it didn't help as much as they were wanting it to or needing it to. So he did end up having to go to the NICU, which was something that I was very nervous about. When we toured the hospital, we did tour the NICU specifically because we knew that there was a higher chance of them going to the NICU, but taking that tour was really scary for me. And because we had gotten to the point that we were at, once, you know, we had given birth, we had checked them beforehand, they looked great, they looked healthy, nothing going on. And then when they were born, you know, they were 7 pounds each, 7'1" and 7'2". So we really did not think that either one of them were going to end up going to the NICU. And so when Kieran did have to go to the NICU, it was hard, because I had already set it in my mind that like, all right, cool, we've gotten to the point where now they don't have to go to the NICU. Why I did that, I don't know, but that's what happened. And then, so he went to the NICU. Cece stayed with us the whole time. She was great. She was doing amazing, thriving wonderfully. And so he was only in the NICU for, I think, however long we were in the hospital. So that was, I think, what, 3 days? Maybe 3, maybe 4. I think something like that. I can't remember right now, but he came home with us. We all came home at the same time, which was amazing. And ever since then, he's just been doing great. And now he's a little chunky boy. But yeah, so that was the actual birth part. It was a surreal feeling to have both of the babies be there in the room, and hearing both of them cry, and holding both of them, doing skin to skin with both of them at the same time. Like, I had no idea how to hold two babies at the same time, and so like that was it was such an interesting experience to have to figure that out while I'm still groggy, while I'm still recovering, while I'm still in pain. It was a thing, but it was a beautiful thing, and I loved it. I will say one thing that I was not expecting, I didn't know would be a thing, because I've never really heard people talk about it. And I don't know if it was just because I had twins and they were in different places because because Kieran was in the NICU and because Cece was with us, right? And then I also had Lala at home. So I don't know if it was because of that or if all parents experience this when they have, you know, subsequent children after their first. But I felt like a different mom for each kid. I didn't feel like I was everybody's mom. I felt like I was Kieran's mom, and then I felt like I was Cece's mom, and then I felt like I was Abriella's mom. I hope that makes sense, but it felt different because when we were in our room that we were staying in for the rest of our time at the hospital, we had Cece with us the whole time. The only time she went to the nursery was so that way we could go down to see Kieran together because she couldn't go down there with us. So she was with us the whole time, and so like I started to feel more like Cece's mom and like getting used to the things with her and doing all the newborn stuff again and all of that, right? But then when I would go down to the NICU and I didn't have Cece with me, I felt like Kieran's mom. I felt like, I don't know, it just was, I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even know how to put it in the right words. But I felt like a different mom. And then when Lala came to the hospital for the first time, it was such a weird feeling to have both of the girls in the room, have Cece and Lala in the room, because again, I know myself as Abriella's mom, and you know, I've been her mom solo, just the two of us, mom and daughter, for, you know, a year almost at this, no, yeah, almost 2 years at this point. And so it was a weird feeling to have both of them in the room for the first time, and I felt just like two different people. I felt like two different moms. I felt like one mom for Cece and one mom for Abriella. Eventually, you know, as we were together more and we were doing things more and interacting, and Lala was being with Cece and interacting with her and all of those things, I started to feel more like myself and like one mom. I don't know. I hope this is making sense. And let me know in the comments if you have ever felt this before. Whether you had, you know, subsequent singleton babies or if you also had multiples, let me know, because it was such a weird feeling. And then when I had all three of them together for the first time, like that was a whole nother weird feeling again, because it was like I'm used to being just Kieran's mom down in the NICU, and now we're together, and then now there's Lala, and it was just a weird feeling that I was not prepared for. I did not expect to have that feeling. I don't think I ever really thought about it. I don't think I thought about what it would feel like to be a mom of multiple children at once. So when it felt so off, so weird, I didn't know what to do with that. So yeah, I will say that that was probably the weirdest thing for having the twins and like the recovery afterwards. People will also ask me like what my recovery was like, and interestingly enough, my recovery with Lala from that C-section, I feel like it was really good in the beginning. Like it felt great. Not great, but you know, considering all things, it was great. I wasn't in too much pain. I, you know, was still able to kind of be a little bit functional and all of that. And then it got worse as we got home. Like it was more uncomfortable. I was not able to be as functional as I was in the hospital. And maybe that was a combination of like the adrenaline of having a newborn, being a first-time mom, and all of those things, and the medicines that they were giving me that time around, because they were different from what they gave me with the twins, or what. But like it felt like it was not so bad in the beginning, and then it started to get worse Obviously it's gotten better, it got better, right? But like that was kind of the progression of it. With the twins, that was the opposite. With the twins, the initial, like right after in the hospital was rough. I'm pretty sure I felt a contraction of like my uterus shrinking back down, but I don't know. I never felt contractions more than Braxton Hicks. I had a lot of Braxton Hicks with the twins, but I'd never had any like true contractions. So I still don't really know what that feels like. I think I had the one afterwards during postpartum where my uterus was contracting down. I don't even know for sure. Anyways, the initial time right after having them was rough, was very difficult, very painful. And then I feel like it got better as time went on. It was interesting to see that as well, that it was like the opposite for recovery afterwards. And then being able to take the babies home at the same time was amazing. I was worried that we weren't going to be able to do that, and then we would have to figure out the whole juggling act of coming back to the hospital to be with Kieran, but still taking care of Cece and Lala, and it was just going to be a thing that we'd have to figure out. We were able to bring him home all together, everybody as a family. So that was amazing, and I was so grateful for that. The time at home was really nice. It was good. I think because we had Lala, it made the beginning part a little bit easier. I think this whole year, honestly, this whole first year was a little bit easier with the twins because we had Lala first. So I say that because like we knew how to change a diaper. We knew kind of some tricks and things like that to help with soothing, to help with, for me, breastfeeding and latching, and just all kinds of different things. Like when things would happen, we kind of already knew some knowledge because we had Lala first. We were able to apply that knowledge to the twins. We just had to do it ×2. Throughout this first year, it has gotten more difficult as they're becoming more mobile, as they're becoming more active, as their personalities are coming out more, and we're learning more about like who they are individually as people. Because they are very opposites. They are very opposite. Cece is my chill, very like cautious one, and she will observe everything. She just has this like stone face that she's like, nope, I'm not about this until I know who you are. I know what's happening. I know what this is. Kieran, on the other hand, is very friendly, very outgoing, very cheesy, very silly. And so it's really interesting to see, and it's interesting figuring out how to balance all the personalities. And then on top of that, we have Lala, right? And Lala is very sweet, very kind-hearted, very gentle, and it's just it is chaos sometimes. Great, it's a great thing. I love it, but it is chaotic sometimes. And so throughout this first year, it's just been a lot of figuring things out, figuring out how to manage 3 at the same time logistically for a lot of things. So for example, like getting everybody into the car. When we were together, like going as a family, my husband and I going together with everybody, it's fine because there's 2 adults, you know, we can manage the 3 kids and get them all in there. But now as my husband's at work and I've got to take the kids places sometimes on my own and things like that, like, or sometimes he takes them on his own, it's trying to manage and figure out like, okay, now how do we do this solo with all 3 kids? How do we get everybody ready for bed in a timely manner? How do we give everybody a bath and it not take, you know, a million years to give baths? It's just a lot of figuring things out because there is 3 of them. And so it takes a lot longer to do those things. I feel like this first year was a big learning curve. Going from 1 to 3 was a huge jump. People always talk about going, you know, from 1 to 2. But you never hear anybody talk about going from 1 to 3. And it was such a huge jump. Everybody talks about how 1 to 2 was hard, but then when you get to like the 3rd one, it's a lot easier of a transition. because you're already used to doing it with multiple children, like doing whatever you gotta do with multiple children. But going from 1 to 3 was like a big shock, because now you're having to figure out how to do that like times 3, whatever you're doing times 3. So that was definitely probably the biggest challenge throughout the whole first year, was figuring out how to manage the 3 and how to do these things that we were doing before with just 1, now with all 3 of them. Don't get me wrong, we don't have it figured out, but we are learning and we are figuring things out. We're doing trial and error. We just got a new stroller that fits all 3 kids, so that's been great. And it's just been so much fun. Very tiring, very exhausting. I will admit that. People will ask me, oh, how are you doing? How's the babies? Blah, blah. And literally my answer is always, I'm tired. But that's just part of it. I think at this point, I'm just gonna be forever tired until they are no longer in the house, until they move on to their own adult lives. But that's okay. So yeah, this whole first year was just a lot of figuring out things, trial and error, and now we are moving on to year 2. So I think we're gonna end this here. I've been chatting with you guys for a really long time, and I haven't gotten much done on this one. I got the B and the L. The glue is still drying, but we are gonna end the vlog here, end this diary entry here, I guess, because otherwise we'll probably be going for another couple of hours, and I won't do that to y'all. But I appreciate you guys so much for watching and coming along this journey with me. If you don't already follow me over on Instagram, be sure to follow me there. That's kind of where I hang out most of the time, and we'll do updates occasionally for the kiddos. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. It greatly helps me out and my channel, so I would really appreciate it. Also, if you have not already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so that way you'll be notified anytime that I upload my future videos. I do have some market vlogs coming up, and I do plan on showing you guys some more behind the scenes things. So if you're interested in those, again, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.